in the one of the first sessions in the Awareness and Action Week for Sustainable Development Goals in the University Global Coalition, and organized by Universidad Carlos III de Madrid, and we are willing to present you the YUFE Alliance, that is an alliance of young universities for the future of Europe, and its connections with the SDGs. This global coalition is devoted to promote the SDGs along the world, and mainly in the universities. And they declare this week as the Action and Awareness Week. And the purpose is to disseminate all the activities in this intention of making a better world, even in this bad moment we are living now. And we have organized regarding this a collection of seminars and roundtables and lectures about our activity and all related with our work. In this, the YUFE Alliance is framed. In this, we are making 3 sessions. The first one is this, and we are very honored. We are very honored to have the director of the YUFE Alliance, Daniela Trani, the policy advisor of the Alliance, also in the administrative office, the Magdalena Kohl, and also the president and vice president of the student forum of this alliance. The alliance is devoted to promote the inclusivity and availability of education for everybody, and we are working in a long project, I hope, that will long for a long time, and about the sharing activities and experience and building new ways of accessing higher education. In this alliance, many sustainable development goals are working on this, and we have selected some of them: quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, etc. All this I have list here, but I think there are a lot of them more in the whole list. I hope in this session, Daniela and Magdalena, George and Eliane will present them better. I want to present the 4 persons that will make this session. First, Daniela Trani is the director of the Young Universities for the Future of Europe Alliance. It is YUFE Alliance, and she is one of the main developers of this pilot proposal. And now, not so pilot, but because we have 3 years of experience, and we are trying to ask for more projects to continue all this activity. She has worked as senior advisor in the international research policy in the departments of academic affairs of Maastricht University, but also she is a well-known researcher. She has a degree in physics from the University of Naples, and the PhD in also the second University of Naples in oncology and applied biotechnology. And she has worked also in Georgetown University and as senior researcher in the Department of Radiotherapy at Maastricht University. But now her main interest now is the promoting of the university, European University. Magdalena Kohl is policy advisor in the management office of the YUFE Alliance. She has studied in many universities, as you could see. She has completed an Erasmus Mundus Master in the University of Groningen and the University of Strasbourg, and also she has graduated in European Studies in the University of Bremen and in Bordeaux, in France. She has also gained professional experience in the field office of German Academic Exchange Service in Mexico City, and now she is, after working in the European Commission Directorate General for Education, Youth and Sport and Culture, and in the Erasmus Plus program, and now she's working with us in the YUFE Alliance. Paulen Decorte, sorry for because I mismatched the name before, is the president of the student forum in the YUFE Alliance. She has been elected as president last autumn, and also she is pursuing her PhD in the Department of Communication Science in the University of Antwerp. She is focusing in the research of perceptions and impact of food media among young adults. Finally, George Apeitos is vice president of the YUFE Alliance. He has been elected in October 21 for this post, and he is studying in the University of Cyprus in pursuing a major degree in archaeology and a minor degree in classics. He has also some scuba diving interests. So thank you very much for both the four people for being here and letting us learn about YUFE and the connections with the SDGs. So I will give room to them to talk. You can ask questions in the chat, and we will try to answer you. And finally, we will have a debate. Thank you very much, Daniela and Magdalena, George and Pauline.
Thank you, Celia. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. We had some technical problems on my side. So good afternoon, and Celia, many thanks for inviting me and the colleagues to discuss what is also your alliance, of course. I'm delighted to represent with Magdalena, Pauline, and George the Young Universities for the Future of Europe, and what we will attempt to do today in our talk is to give you a glimpse of where YUFE comes from and what we are aiming to accomplish, and share with you some of the first tangible progress we have achieved in all areas, including student co-creation. And that's where Pauline and George especially will play an important role, bringing you with us on this student journey. Our alliance is constituted of 14 partners, 10 universities from as many European countries, and 4 non-academic organizations that represent the world of work, NGOs, and these institutions are located in different countries as well. We also have very strong ties with the cities of our partners as well as with our regions, because YUFE is a European University Alliance that is very strongly embedded in the local communities. How did our journey begin? Well, it was in 2018 in response to the development of European Universities Initiative that was initiated by the European Commission. Our alliance stems from the pre-existing cooperation of several of the current partners in the context of YERUN, a Young European University Research Network, and our partners signed together formally in May 2018 a statement, their commitment to start building together one of the very first European universities. So we worked really side by side with the students, including actually Pauline, who was one of the very first student co-creators in our team. And we built a proposal that was the top scoring bid for, in response to the Erasmus call for European Universities Initiative, the very first pilot. We were awarded for our first project in 2019, and the project was developed as a bottom-up co-creation, but with very strong top-down support and commitment. And this means that we as staff and students could really shape what we thought and think our European university should look like, but really with the engagement and the support from the executives at all levels of our partner universities. We are now almost at the end of the first pilot phase. We started in December 2019 and are actually at the moment developing our bid for the second phase of the Alliance. The applications are due on the 22nd of March. So actually today, most of us are in Brussels for a working week together with the writing group. And when I say that we are developing one proposal for one project, a very important one, I would like to stress that we are not only carrying out one single project, but we are really building a transformative initiative. Our dream was to really create a university, an alliance that can be a leading model of student-centered, open and inclusive European university, open to all, where there can be access to high quality, individualized and flexible learning and lifelong learning for our students, but also for non-traditional learners, and very inspiring, enriching career pathways for all staff involved, but also for the students that one day will be alumni or academic staff, and for professionals in the communities and in the stakeholders communities around us. We want to carry out a truly innovative, build a very truly innovative research and work-based ecosystem that is based on interdisciplinary and intersectoral approach in education, in research and innovation, and in service to society. Not only education, research, and innovation are key for us, but also civic engagement and social responsibilities are core values. And these emerge also very strongly in the activities that we have been building in our service to society domain. So what the European University that we are developing really wants to do is to contribute addressing SDGs through a novel model of international education and academic cooperation. Here is the roadmap of what we had sketched to achieve in the first 3 years of our existence, in the first pilot phase that was funded and is funded currently through Erasmus+. And most of what we had set for ourselves, we have been able to achieve. Of course, we have still several months to go. There are also still things that we need to work on, but we are really pleased to already can share with you some very concrete elements of what has turned from an idea to reality. And here I would like to give the word to Magdalena Kohl to provide you some more information on the activities that we have developed and we are also currently delivering to our students.
Thank you very much, Daniela, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and also now going forward in this presentation to introduce some more concrete results that we have already achieved in this very first pilot phase that maybe help us to also illustrate a bit more the dream that Daniela just sketched for you. But if we go to the next slide, I would actually first want to let George from our student forum speak, so that he can also first share the student experience, as this is really what for us in the Alliance is at the heart of what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Magdalena, for giving me the word, and also thank you to the organizers for this invitation. I should say that I specifically asked for this slide and this presentation to be part of the From Dream to Reality section of this presentation. And the reason is that one of the main goals or dreams of the Alliance, as it was stated by Daniela very well before, is to create this student-centered European university. So the YUFE Student Forum was established since the very first proposal to ensure this active participation of students at all levels of the Alliance. Currently, there are 3 representatives from each university, hence 30 total student forum members, 30 representatives, student representatives at the very core of YUFE. And there are 2 main principles of this student participation. Is that students are co-creators and co-leaders. But how do we actually do it? The Student Forum achieved many things towards those principles. Firstly, working on internal Student Forum proposals, but at the same time actively participating in alliance-wide working groups. Secondly, the Student Forum has its own governing structures and is represented in the highest decision-making bodies of the Alliance as full voting members. And thirdly, it established a continuous communication with the students enrolled in YUFE. Because imagine you're a student and you're enrolling now in YUFE, you're encountering structures and tools that were developed by professionals and students. So in many ways, the students are the routes that connect this European university with the student communities at each institution, and also through the student communities to the vast community of each city. This was, of course, uncharted territory for many people involved, and there's a lot more ground to cover in every aspect. But just the mere existence and development of this student body paves the way for a really unique and inclusive European university. So thank you very much, and I will give the word back to Magdalena to continue with the presentation.
Thank you, George. And this is actually the perfect moment for me to continue explaining you how now we also try to bring YUFE to larger student populations. Because as George was just explaining, since the beginning, we have actively engaged students in everything that we do. But this is, of course, more at the stage where we were envisioning and conceiving our alliance. And now we're moving, as Daniela also said, towards reality, towards really putting our dream and our vision into practice. And one of the core examples that for that I would present today, the YUFE Open programs. With the YUFE Open programs, we really try to realize the open and flexible learning pathways that we are envisioning for future students. And I think that the idea of these open programs is really to not only provide learners with opportunities to have access to higher education in different European countries, but to really educate them also as future European citizens and to really enable them to contribute to society in their individual ways and with to develop the skill sets that they would want to develop and that they also want to develop to then contribute to society. And you here on this slide see the core elements of these open programs. So on the one hand, we work on personalized curricula. So this is really the flexible learning pathways that I have just mentioned. Included, we have mobility opportunities, and that's of course the strength of having 10 universities working together. And we do that also, and that has become even more important during the COVID pandemic with the digital learning environment. But it's not only a learning environment, we're building a YUFE virtual campus that also really is a home to our community and that really connects all the different people or the different communities and sectors that we bring together in the YUFE Alliance. Thank you, Daniela. We can go to the next slide indeed. So we in 2020 already put in place our first pilot YUFE Open programs. We very consciously decided to start with smaller student populations because, as George said, we also really now try to not only include the YUFE Student Forum in the co-creation process, but also really the students that are now enrolled in these first programs. So we are collecting their feedback quite regularly. We're running many surveys to have their immediate feedback on the first offerings that we're putting in place, to also really keep working on our offerings to make sure that they're really fit for purpose, that they're fit for our learners' needs. And these first open programs since the beginning offered a very unique combination of academic and language courses. And then quite quickly, we also put extra curricular activities in place that enlarged our offer even further to also have opportunities in the areas of civic engagement and professional training. And to make sure that this is also recognized and that also skills development outside academia can be recognized then also by maybe future employers. We put in place a novel reward and recognition scheme for extracurricular activities that we call the YUFE Star system, of which you also see this, this visual here on the slide. And in that star system, the idea is really to enable everyone to work on their individual strengths and skills so that they can meaningful contribute to the challenges that we have in today's society. And I think this work-based environment, the challenge-based learning that also Daniela already briefly addressed, is really what we want to emphasize here and what we want to develop further also in the future. Next slide, please. Thank you. And I already earlier said that we do that also in a quite novel environment. Since the beginning for YUFE, the digital component of the future European university that we are building was quite important, just because we acknowledged that a new model of education would also require new models of collaboration. But the development of the YUFE virtual campus really received, I would say, another push through the COVID pandemic, because it was actually the quite already well-built plans for the virtual campus that we had since the beginning that allowed us to start offering our open programs despite the pandemic. Because in the beginning, we of course had envisioned more physical mobility, but since we rather quickly also in 2020 could already launch a first minimal viable project of the virtual campus, starting from the student portal, we could allow students to be in touch with each other, to attend courses at other universities, even through the pandemic. And that the feedback that we received was very positive, as students really told us that they had the feeling that this enabled them to experience Europe still in the pandemic, and to take part to these offerings really allowed them to widen their own horizon a bit, even though it seemed quite limited in the times of the pandemic. And I just said we started from the student portal just because, of course, that's at the core of the Alliance, really working with students for the students. But in future, we also want to widen this portals and this virtual campus to really support all the communities in YUFE, to also connect it even further with all the other activities that I have now not explained in detail, but that we also start offering for cities and citizens, for innovators, entrepreneurs, decision makers, etc., as really all the actors that are important for the individual ecosystems of our universities. Thank you. And as I said, for us, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I think we really learned how a very flexible vision that we have, but with a really strong, I would say, visional backbone. We could react very quickly to what was happening around us. And I think this is also how we actually managed to interpret the SDGs for ourselves in a very good way, because we have made them in a way a very central part of the identity of YUFE, to create a very strong vision that then still allows us to react to what is going on in the world, and to also develop a vision that is not only based on what we do now and on what is happening in the world now, but also to really help anticipate maybe some changes in the future, and to be able to respond to them adequately. Next slide, please. And this is also why I think it is quite important for us to emphasize, as Daniela also said in the beginning, that YUFE is no longer one single project, but YUFE is really now a large initiative with different projects in place that we understand more as enablers of our vision, that help us to implement our vision. And hopefully these projects will still grow. But I think that in the moment, what is for us really important is that YUFE is not only active in education. This is the part of YUFE that we are showing to you today, because we're also really happy that we're having George and Paulen with us. They will also be able to maybe answer some questions on that later on. But YUFE is doing a lot more, and in the moment already YUFE is actually active in all the missions and all the areas that also traditional universities would be active in. So here on the slide, we have listed the projects that we currently have in place, where we also have 2 projects that would be DIOSI and YUFEring that are focused on research and innovation, and on building a YUFE model for community engagement-based research that is really built on open science, flipped knowledge transfer, but also on a new way of training young academics and young researchers, and to also enable them to contribute to society. And then lastly, the project Inno4 YUFE that quite recently was funded only last year, where we continue working on our entrepreneurship initiatives that really helps us to also be in close touch with that part of our communities. And that's where I think I would hand back to Daniela to tell you more about the YUFE secret and why we think that YUFE is working so well.
Thank you, Magdalena. And indeed, if you think that we started all in December 2019 with the formal project, the first official project that is also the parent project for the Alliance, the Erasmus+, a lot has happened then since, and one might wonder how was this possible? Well, I really want to emphasize that YUFE is an alliance of people for the people, and that the colleagues and students you see here in this picture that gathered also in Bremen this year, and many other hundreds of colleagues that are not in this picture are working tirelessly to make this dream come true. And we are all united not only by the conviction that knowledge can really make a difference in society, can really help build a society that's thriving and it's based on peace. But our alliance really focuses and is built around the values of equality, diversity, and inclusivity. And these, together with all the competences of the excellent lecturers, researchers that train our students, are making something that was almost seen as impossible actually become a reality. So also I want to acknowledge with this slide the contribution of many colleagues, many lecturers, researchers, colleagues from the non-academic staff, as well as the executives that are giving us tremendous support. Of course, as any complex initiative and enterprise, we are also finding hurdles along the way. Together with the successes, there are also challenges we identify and for which we work to find solutions. So it might be also important to share with you which challenges we have found and what is that we are now aware we'll have to tackle in the future. So I'll give you a glimpse of them here. First of all, as Magdalena emphasized, we have one alliance, but at the moment, the alliance as an initiative is being supported through many separate projects. And here the first administrative challenge comes in, but also a cultural challenge of stopping seeing a project as a loose assignment or task and really be part of the fuel, the lymph that is fostering the alliance. And it's also influencing how we are rethinking the governance of our alliance and the management. So that's one thing we are already tackling, and I'm sure that already in a few months we will be able to report further progress on this. And then there are the ambitions that were very high since the very beginning. The funding, on the other hand, is limited. And despite the great efforts of the European Commission and the partner universities, several of the member states, to provide further support, funding still remains a key challenge and something that we will need to tackle not only from within the alliance, but also continuously with the European Commission and with all member states. Of course, we have to be also realistic on what we can achieve, but on the other hand, only with the high ambitions, we can transform together higher education in Europe and beyond. Another challenge is related to the differences between the national frameworks. That also is something we need to work with together, not only the universities, but also with the member states. And we are in a dialogue, continuous dialogue with the European Commission and with the national governments. Another challenge is building from separate partners one alliance that requires also specific expertise, substantial resources. So the need has emerged in these past years for centralized work units and experts to support all areas not only academic ones, but also the areas of professional services, such as IT, which you have seen is key for us as an alliance, because we see ourselves as a digital university, legal affairs and financial advice, but also communication, branding of the alliance, because we want to be recognizable, but we also want to ensure that we feel like one at all levels, at the level of the students, of the staff, from within the universities, and that we are regarded as one from the outside. And last but not least, this is, as I said, an alliance of people, and to the people we owe everything we achieve. High ambition and first successes could be achieved and reported also especially thanks to the tremendous work that colleagues have carried out. But with this also workload comes. So for us as an alliance, it's also key to make sure that in the future the work pressure can be reduced, and that we can work at a more sustainable pace, because we are here to stay. YUFE is here to stay. And we want to support all the staff that are working and will continue work on this wonderful dream. Last but not least, it's the student engagement and co-creation that has made everything possible from the student side. And on this topic, I will give the word to Paulen, who will take you through the next steps of this dream. Paulen, please.
Thank you very much, Daniela, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for listening in. My name is Paulen. I'm the president of the YUFE Student Forum, and I'll briefly speak on how we see the future of the student engagement in YUFE. So in YUFE, we're turning dreams of a European university into a reality day by day, but also we keep on dreaming up more improvements and innovative ways to achieve our goals, including the continuous engagement towards fulfilling SDGs, for instance. For the continuation of our deeply embedded student involvement and co-creation, this means that we ourselves as students, coordinated by George and I, for instance, but it's very bottom up, that we are exploring and negotiating ways to increase, improve, and professionalize student involvement in various ways. We're looking towards achieving greater continuity, more clearly defined roles and mandates, a greater reach, and are truly reflecting on the lessons we've been able to learn in these past years of YUFE as student co-creators. Our efforts as student co-creators are being seriously recognized and highly appreciated throughout the Alliance, where there is a clearly established trust for us to keep working on student-centered topics as they are highly relevant to the entire Alliance, but also to us internally as Student Forum, and what type of Student Forum we want to grow towards in the future. We're truly grasping opportunities to innovate when it comes to the way we are involved and how we involve YUFE students further, to how we represent students, to how we motivate participation and make sure that this motivation lasts. Daniela has just mentioned some hurdles for us to overcome, and these also apply to student engagement. But we are confident that the open spirit in which we can negotiate as an alliance internally and externally will help us to develop streamlined ways to address these hurdles, both in the short and the long term. And let's be honest, these hurdles truly give us the opportunity to think outside the box and, as Daniela mentioned previously, to do the impossible. So along with the rest of the Alliance, we in the Student Forum are very much looking ahead, dreaming on, but also continuing to make these dreams a reality as we speak. And we very much appreciate what YUFE has allowed us to achieve in this role of student engagement and co-creatorship. It is truly unique. So I hope I've given you a glimpse towards future steps. Thank you very much. And I'll give the final words and wrap up to our director, Daniela.
Thank you, Paulen. And on behalf of our team, again, many thanks for listening, and we will be very happy, Celia, to take any questions that the audience might have.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daniela, Magdalena, George, and Paulen. Well, it's very nice to hear that presentation, and I hope everybody has enjoyed the dream that has become truth. No, we are now working on that, and even we are also working on the SDGs. So perhaps someone in the audience want to make some question.
Celia, I would like to stop sharing, but
Yes.
Something is
Do you have
working right now.
a round with a square white in the middle, more or less on the right hand upper? You are yes, this.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I'm not
welcome.
familiar with the platform. Thanks a lot.
It's difficult. This Blackboard is a bit difficult because it's not easy, not user friendly. Well, perhaps someone in the audience want to make some question. Okay, I have one question. How are you addressing the equality in terms of not only gender but also different cultures or different levels, economic levels in the with respect to not only to students but also to staff in the project?
So I guess that this is a question especially for me and for Magdalena. This is a very good one, Celia, and thanks a lot for posing it. Well, what we want to ensure is that our academic and non-academic staff get the same opportunities to exchange with their colleagues from across the Alliance. So, of course, we are, and that's a quite tricky question, and that applies also to the students, because in order to can assess how effective our activities, actions have been, we also have to determine a baseline. You were referring to diversity in terms of socioeconomic background or economic background. This is something we are not yet able to measure, because you first have to develop some kind of framework that will allow to also gather this kind of data. But it's for sure one of the key elements we want to work on in the future, to have a concrete idea of how far we have been able to go. We have to measure where we started, right? So we will need to also collect, if we want to do that, information from staff as well as students that are involved in the activities. And this is everything other than trivial. So it's something that we'll be working on also in the next phase. For the short term, what we try to do is to create, develop activities and launch activities that are accessible for everyone. Of course, with the pandemic, paradoxically, any activities that were organized online has become much more approachable and accessible for all the staff and students involved. We are, however, well aware that for the activities and the exchange or the training, the professional development opportunities that require travel, for example, and that therefore also require more funding, we will need to really make sure that within the Alliance and across the partner universities, structures and resources are put in place so that everyone can take the opportunities that fit to them without building barriers for those colleagues, talking of staff, that cannot afford funding from the university, for example. So one thing that we could try and will try in the future is to see how, not only for the different, let's say, groups within one university, but across the Alliance, that we can have flexible ways to support them in their professional development, also financially. But there are no instruments yet in place, and what I dream we will be able to do is no guarantee, of course. Only time will tell.
Very interesting, and it's very a lot of hope here. All of us are hoping to reach to that objective. It's very interesting. From the point of view of the students, how do you see the merging with the professional future and all this life of dreams or well, good dreams, but we are building new ideas and intentions. And do you realize when you finish in university life, you will become a professional, and how are you planning to merge all these activities with your future? For Paulen, for example.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Maybe I'll say some few words on it, and then I'll give the word to George to see if he has any additions. Thank you so much. Yes, I think that that's a very good question to kind of consider how we make sure that students have enough in their backpack, enough experiences, enough opportunities to kind of see what they really want to get out of a professional experience and kind of know what's out there in order to fully engage with the professional experience after their studies that truly aligns with their interests and their preferences. And I think that certain things that are offered within the YUFE Alliance, for instance, the diversity of the YUFE stars towards mobility, languages, but also professionalism, and also the innovative branch of YUFE where people can really kind of engage within innovative practices and challenge-based issues throughout their studies, that this really helps in kind of gaining that experience in order to kind of make this well thought out choice as a student in what they kind of really want to do. And I think also within the student forum now, very specifically, this doesn't necessarily apply to all YUFE students, that this kind of experience is also being brought into the student forum, where we're really working towards the opportunity of introducing these professional trainings, things like that, so that alongside the daily experiences of being a student forum member, there's also certain training sessions that will really kind of engage students more and really kind of fill this backpack with experiences. So in that sense, I think that merging process is already underway and has been a central part of the YUFE Alliance since the beginning. George, if you have anything else to add or other.
Oh yeah, what Paulen said was almost covers everything I wanted to say. So I will just add a small detail, a small conversation I had with a specific staff member in one of the physical meetings of YUFE. That somebody told me that for a student in YUFE, you get something that's called cultural relevancy, which is very important in this globalizing world. And you having like about after everything Paulen said, of course, you being culturally relevant and being able to mingle with different cultures and learning that and showing that through YUFE, it's something you really take with you after your studies.
Nice.
Can I, Celia, add something to what
Yes,
Paulen and George said? They covered it all. So I just add from my own perspective, George and Paulen are part of the YUFE strategy board, which is the highest decision-making body, as George said during his presentation, his intervention. And you have to imagine that these two bright students sit at the table with all the executives from the YUFE partner universities, with the executive representatives from the non-associated partners, and they get to be part of discussions that are unique, because there are these are strategic discussions and reflections that are making a difference for the Alliance and will make a difference for the future of higher education. And also their colleagues in the student forum, although less frequently, are also involved in this kind of discussions. And many of us have never been part of developments of synergies that required a very high abstraction level. That is something we develop during our academic studies, united with strategic thinking, taking into account the perspective from different institutions, but also from different countries, from different local realities. So the experience that they built for those that are involved in the co-creation of YUFE at different levels, at the level of the strategy board, the student forum, but also of the different working teams that we have, is really unique. And I am sure that whatever they will do in the future, this will represent an asset to them and to any organization they will work for.
Nice. I think, well, I am totally fan of this project, you know, but I hope people that are attending this session will realize the importance of the project and the alliance. And I have I don't know if if anybody in the audience want to make a question, please raise your hand. I have another question in relation with the involvement of the YUFE, well, involvement of the cities. We said YUFE cities, but I mean the municipalities and the local governments in relation with the sustainable goal of the sustainable cities and communities, and the importance of this SDG with the YUFE goals. So if you want to talk about this. I don't know, Magdalena, perhaps?
Yeah, I can make a start, and then of course maybe one of the colleagues wants to add as well. I think maybe let me start from that, because often we get the question, what is so unique about the European University Alliance? How does it differ from other types of international or European collaborations, from other maybe joint programs that are out there? And I think that something that was for me very unique, and I think also motivating when I myself joined the Alliance, was actually this very new approach to embedding this collaboration of universities in a very natural context, I think, because all the partners, all the partner universities that we have already quite close networks with their cities, with their surrounding ecosystems. This is also why for this European university, we took a very similar approach, saying we really want to build this, what we call a quadruple helix. So to really collaborate not only with the citizens, but also with businesses, entrepreneurs, and the decision makers. So I think that cities are only one of these very important actors, but I think that the cities are, very important in specific, because they are the direct surroundings of the universities. And I think this is where the universities can give back to society probably in the most immediate way, and where we really, I think, hope to in the future build very close relations. And already in the first proposal that we wrote, I think the approach was to really map together with the cities what kind of challenges they face and where they would also want to see the support of this unique collaboration. So I think that since the beginning, we had the strong support of all the cities, of all the municipalities involved in YUFE. We also tried to keep them engaged throughout this first pilot phase, which was, I think, one of the most difficult parts in the COVID pandemic, just because since you did not have any physical interaction, that was actually, I think, the most difficult to really reach out to the local environments and to citizens and cities, and also to find new formats with that. But I think that we're also now quite busy to think about how we want to do that in the future, because what we did so far was to continue the mayors' meetings, to really at that level also see where do we see synergies, where do we feel that we can also support collaborations that are in place already, because I think not everything that we do within YUFE starts from zero, but we also really want to build on what is there already and what others have already put in place. And in this way also really support others in what they are doing and what they have put in place already. And I think that's really important for us. And in this way really also create a European community that is not existing in a loose space, I would say, but that is really strongly rooted in the local context. And I think in this way we also try to really embrace the unity and diversity that we face in YUFE, that we face in the universities and their surroundings, and where we also really try to mutually strengthen the regions, where the regions also support us. I don't know if maybe one of the colleagues wants to add something to that, or if Celia, that answered your question, or if you would want to go into more depth there.
Yes. I don't know if the student want to add something from the point of view of they are living in one city and the city is normally not connected to the university, and now with this new vision, we want to include the university and the city, they all together.
Well, maybe I can kind of add on to what Magdalena has already been saying, because what I would add is really kind of aligns with that. But maybe a concrete example, perhaps, is something that we've been developing are called diversity and inclusivity grants, to really kind of form this bottom-up initiative that will be supported by the YUFE Alliance. But then, of course, this this solution or this proposal really has to be embedded within local issues, local concerns, something local that can really be tackled, that really kind of aligns with sustainable development goals. And basically what Magdalena has been saying, this quadruple helix structure with the communities, but also with other stakeholders, really allows for this bottom-up approach. But then also thinking towards the implementation of such a solution, once you kind of reach that solution, it's kind of really the importance of being able to apply that locally as it works within this established, where this established concern lives, or with these already established systems in order to tackle these issues, things like that, but then also kind of being able to translate that internationally, that it also works locally in all our partners or for other stakeholders as well. And I think there really lies the strength, and these things like these D&I proposals really kind of help us to really concretize these initiatives and really kind of think very specifically towards certain issues that we can tackle, certain things that we can improve locally, but then also translate those internationally. So that kind of helps perhaps with a very concrete example of something that we're doing within the Alliance to really help this bottom-up approach from the communities towards, solving these or fulfilling these sustainable development goals.
Yeah, and also I may add that the involvement of cities, it's very important for YUFE, and it's something that really makes YUFE unique, because without the Alliance being rooted in each city, it's like a cloud in the sky that's rooted nowhere, but it's important to root it in every different city. And it works both ways. Then if we're talking about sustainable development, of course, it works both ways, that the institution help develop the cities and the cities help develop the institutions and the Alliance. So it creates a very powerful combination that really pushes everyone forward.
I think this is really important what George just said next to the remarks from Magdalena and Paulen. We need to hear what are the needs from the communities our universities are part of, and the same applies to other stakeholders, but it's especially important for the local communities. Also for the reasons you, Celia, said, that it's traditionally a challenge. It's also seen as an obstacle, while universities are really should be and could be a major resource for the cities, and the other way around. If we manage also to strengthen the cohesion between the university community and the civic community, this could be also a really important element for the student experience, that are also, especially in international education, moving away from their families and have often not really a social network where they go to study. And in many of our cities, it's a reality that the population is aging, and also many of our elderlies are alone. And if we bring different generations together, that can be really enriching, can help us really pass on the cultural heritage, not only to the people that are coming from these cities and regions, but also to others that are from other parts in Europe. And especially now with what is happening, you see how important it is to remember that we are different, but that's also what unites us. These differences make us stronger, and teaching everyone the value of inclusivity, openness, is an essential task of universities. And for the cities, it is really important to also support the universities in this mission. So it's a quite difficult task, of course, but there is no better institution than a European one in higher education to really create, to train the citizens of the future Europe.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. Sorry, I think we have to finish here because the session was planned for an hour, and we must close here. But I want to thank you very much, Daniela and Magdalena, Paulen, and George, because I think it has been a very interesting session, and the good thing is it's recorded, And I hope a lot of people can go later and can learn about this connection between SDGs and university and cities. I think it's a good thing, and I want to thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation, Celia, and thanks for the audience for listening in.
Okay, thank you. I must leave because I have class. Sorry. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.